before we start, here are some of our homemade Christmas decorations. They're hanging on the tree, so I've got one there. I'm kind of having to hunt for them a little bit. And my favourite one here. It's so pretty. And I've got one up here as well. That's a little green one we made. They are all there. Ooh, tree. Hi everyone and welcome to day 5 of Cavemas. If you celebrate Christmas, I'd like to wish you a very merry, warm and dry Christmas hopefully. I am here with my lovely Christmas tree, which I'm very proud of, and a glass of wine. I am actually going out later and I thought I would take the opportunity while I've got a full face of makeup on anyway just to film this video. So remember this because you're not going to see this very often ever again. Most of you'll know by now I hardly ever wear makeup anyway, but I'm like, oh, I don't want to ruin my lippy. Wine. So today's video is the question and answer video, and you guys have sent me loads of really cool questions. I've got them all written down in my wee book. I have had some through YouTube, some through Facebook, some through Instagram, some by direct message and also some via email. So I've not really got them in any particular order this year. I thought it would be more fun just to kind of like pick one out and answer it. There are one or two that kind of link together, but I'll address them as I go along. So I'm just going to stick my pen in the page. Here we go. Okay. So MJ Pete asks me what is my favourite medium. My favourite medium is pencil. Doesn't matter whether it's graphite or coloured pencil. I am a pencil gal through and through. And he also asks if I have a favourite paper. And I've got a favourite watercolour paper. I really like the Archie paper, both the hot and the cold press paper, for different reasons. When it comes to drawing and using coloured pencils, I will literally work on anything. I actually don't care. I'm not fussy. As long as the pencil works on the paper, then it's all good. Okay, let's pick from somewhere else. Tell us something we don't know about you. And this is from Antania, and that was via Messenger. Okay, I know. I have, well, some of you might know this though, that's kind of rubbish. Okay, I've got two things then. I have a tattoo and it is absolutely massive. I bet you didn't know that. I wanted a tattoo since I was about 17 or 18, and I knew that I had to be absolutely sure that that's what I wanted, and a very wise person once told me the phrase, do it once and do it right. I waited until I was 28 before I got that tattoo, so 10 years after I was legally allowed to go and do it by myself. That's how long it took me to decide. And all that planning, it's huge, but it's in a place where I can cover it up or show it off if I choose to, and I am not getting it out right now, so you can just forget that idea. But yes, it's pretty big and it's pretty cool. Maybe I'll show you a photo of it one day or something. The other thing as well is oh, here's Jock. Hi Jock. He wants to be near me. Do you want to come and say hello to everyone? Say hi everyone. Oh, here's Pip coming now too. Hi Pip. She's only here because Jock's here. It would be really cool if you all would sit nice and just look at the camera for a wee while. No? Okay. The other thing is that I have a secret piercing, and it is not in a socially unacceptable place. But see, to be honest, half the time I forget I've got it. So and I will show you that because it's up here. I don't know if you can see that or not. Oh, ruining my lippy. It's up in there. And I have had that part, I have had my web pierced for 11 years. It's supposed to grow out because that flap of skin is supposed to protect like the top part of your mouth, and the piercing is actually supposed to reject, and mine hasn't. So I've still got mine, and what it has done is you will notice that when I smile, you can see all of my top teeth, and that is because that piercing pushes my top lip up, so it actually makes my smile smilier. That's why I got it. and everyone always says that I'm a very smelly person. So everyone, I think when I was younger it was a bit of a rebellious thing, but that was the reason I did it. And yeah, I'm really glad I've still got it, because I actually forget that it's there most of the time, but I do have to be careful and make sure I brush it properly. But that's what gives me my nice big smile. So there you go, there's 2 things you probably don't know about me. See, full of surprise. I'm a dark horse, really. Oh, a question from Julia. If I had to start over, what art supplies would I buy? I saw this question and I've been thinking about this for ages. If something happened and I lost all of my art supplies, the first thing that I would do is go out and buy myself a set of B pencils, so like all the B grade pencils, a kneaded eraser and a sketchbook. And I would probably also now buy myself a set of watercolours, and it wouldn't matter what kind of watercolours, but I'd buy myself a pan set of watercolours and some really good watercolour paper, and I think that would be enough to start me off. I thought that was a really good question. Oh, I love this question as well. This question came from Jess Galliano on Instagram, and they asked, what is my favourite Stephen King book? Again, some of you probably have seen them in the background when I'm filming sometimes. I love Stephen King books, and I think he's an excellent writer. He's also a very prolific writer. My favourite Stephen King novel is The Stand, and that is closely followed by the Dark Tower series. So that's The Gunslinger. Some of you might have seen the film, which wasn't very good. I read the Dark Tower series before I read The Stand, so the Dark Tower series were my favourite Stephen King novels, and then I read The Stand, and the Stand is like this thick. It is absolutely huge, and I read it in 4 nights because I could not put it down. You know, sometimes people stay up during the night to finish a book if it's really good. I did that like for 4 consecutive nights because it was so good. So if you haven't read that book and you are a Stephen King fan, I strongly suggest that you go and get a copy because it's awesome. It's epic, and it's good epic. So thank you for that question, Jess, because that was one of my favourite questions, because I love talking about books. Now, that brings me nicely on to another one, if I can find it, because I am sure someone asked me about hobbies outside of art. I'm sure someone asked. Yeah, Darkest Raven, there you go, found it. Yeah, other hobbies outside of art, I love to read. I used to write a lot, and I have actually had some stories published. I don't write anymore, that's another story and another question entirely. I suppose I still enjoy writing. I enjoy stories, I think that's probably a better thing to say. I enjoy playing video games, and that's for the same reason, because you get a lot of good stories out of video games. I like to be outside. I spend a lot of time walking my dogs, and up until about August of this year I was doing a lot of running as well. I haven't been running, and again, there's reasons, but I do plan on getting back to running properly, probably into the end of February, and I'm going to start training for another half marathon. So yeah, I've got loads of other silly little side hobbies as well, but I literally don't have time, especially now the channel takes up so much of my time, and other things have to make way for that because I am a ridiculously busy person. I used to play the guitar a lot. I used to like to sing and play the guitar with my friend. We used to do little gigs in pubs. We don't do any of that anymore because we're adults. We have to adult. Oh, here's Woo coming. Hi, Woo. Do you want to come and say hello to everyone? Look, come here. I have to give her sign language now because she's so deaf. Come on. Yeah. Look. Oh, hi. We should put your little Christmas jumper on, shouldn't we? Again, Pip, jealous. Oh, put lipstick on her. Darkest Raven's other question was, what are the plans for your channel for 2020? I will actually address that on the 1st of January. I did it last year, and I'm going to do it again this year. It's kind of like a year in review and a New Year's resolution kind of video. So I will be talking then about what is happening in the coming year. So stay tuned for that, Darkest Raven, and thank you for your questions in the meantime. Tracy's asked me 2 questions as well, and these are to do with my nationality, which is quite amusing. Our first question is, what is my favourite, Christmas or Hogmanay? Hogmanay is the Scottish word for New Year, and New Year is a much more celebrated thing in Scotland than most places, and it's basically because it just gives us an excuse to get drunk for an extra day. The 2nd of January is a public holiday in Scotland, and it's so that you can get drunk on New Year's Day and you still have a day to recover with a hangover before you have to go back to work. So I would have said when I was younger, Hogmanay was definitely more important, and we used to do all the traditions like first footing and all that kind of stuff, and going, you know, through to your neighbours and having a drink with them even though it's 10 o'clock in the morning. We used to do all that. We don't really do things like that now because we stay on a farm. We're quite isolated, and you're just too old to go out and get drunk till 5 o'clock in the morning. Like, I can't be bothered with it anymore. So no, I would say Christmas is more important to me now, and I've kind of mentioned it already actually, and it's because it's the only time of year where Mr. Jem has the potential to have a few days off, and I have my mum and dad all in the same place. It's the only time of year where there is the potential that the 4 of us may be in the same room at the same time for an extended period, and that means so much to me. Like, I really enjoy having my family around me because most of the time I am on my own. So definitely Christmas. Definitely Christmas. Her other question was, what's my favourite Scottish word? I've got so many, and not all of them are family friendly. There's words that I use every day. Like, obviously I use the word wee all the time. Everything's wee. Do you want a wee drink? Here, have a wee something or other. I do use the word wee all the time. That's like standard protocol. My favourite Scottish word, a word that I really like is the word fankle, and fankle is if something's tangled, or you know, if it's all sort of knotted up. So like, you could get your shoelace in a fankle, or you can get your hair in a fankle, and if you're really uptight about something, you can get your knickers in a fankle too. I just think it's a really descriptive word and I really like it. There's a lot of Scottish words I don't like though. The word for underarm, and I think it's more of a Glaswegian word, is oxter. Like, you talk about your oxter, and I think that is a horrendous word, and I would never use that word. It's an armpit. Okay, it's just an armpit. But yeah, that I would say, I think fankle's probably my favourite Scottish word. It's not, I don't use it an awful lot, but I use words like shugly. I've talked about that before as well. If something's shugly, it's wobbly or it's loose, because you can have like a shugly tooth or a shugly table leg. Or if you talk about an old person, they've got shugly legs because they need to walk, you know, with a stick or whatever. And we talk about a skiddle in the sink. That's when you splish splash about, it's having a skiddle. Or if you skiddle something down yourself, you spill it. Yeah, I think we're done with that. Thank you for your questions, Tracy. Patricia S asked, what have been your best and worst YouTube comments? I'm gonna have to take some wine for this thing. The best ones are when people contact me in any way, shape or form and tell me that watching the channel videos helps them. This is making me feel a wee bit emotional. I don't know why. Oh God, don't ruin my makeup. As someone who has been in a very bad place mentally, and it was a long time ago, I understand when you come across something or someone that uplifts you and motivates you enough to inspire you to do something. It's a really nice feeling as a person who maybe is struggling a little bit. And for anyone to leave me a comment or get in touch with me, and there's been quite a few people have told me that I have inspired them to take art up, you know, it's something that they maybe dropped years ago, or someone that has perhaps been suffering with depression or anxiety, and I am helping them in a tiny little way just to get through their day. That I cannot convey to you how rewarding that feels for me, and how much it gets me right in the feels, because I have been that person. And one day I'm going to tell my mental health story. I'm not going to do it anytime soon. I don't think I'm ready to do it, but one day I will tell that story, and it's pretty horrendous. But I understand, and I think that's why it gets me so much. And you can talk about everything else, the benefits of being on YouTube and, you know, doing this and doing that and making money, which you don't, by the way, and that's the next question I'm going to answer. it is so rewarding to hear those kind of comments, and that is the best comment you can get. Obviously, everyone's so nice. Like, you guys are so freaking nice, and you're so supportive, and I love all of your comments, and I really appreciate them. And I think you know by now that I really do appreciate everything that you guys do when it comes to the comment section, because I love reading comments. But the special ones are when someone indicates to you that you've helped them in some way. It's just the best feeling in the world. And I would continue to do YouTube until I'm in a box in the ground if I could make someone somewhere feel like that every day. That would be brilliant. The worst comments I've really not had any horrendous comments. I've had a few sort of like narky comments or like slightly sarcastic comments, but I've had nothing truly horrendous. I did have someone call me patronising once, which is something I feel quite strongly about, because I try my hardest not to be patronising, and if I was being, I would think that someone would feel able to tell me in a constructive manner and maybe say, hey Jem, you know, that bit of that video, you sounded a bit patronising. That would be fine. This person was on a full-scale rant about the video that I had put out, and it is truly the only ranty comment I've had, but I just figured that this person had a bee in her bonnet about something else, and I happened to be in the line of fire. I didn't take it personally at all. I have been called, I wasn't called deceptive, that's not right. There was a few really negative comments on the video that I had up about how the cave stash works when I had it originally in the coffee fund format, and there was quite a few people saying there that that what I was doing was wrong, I was lying to people. And really, it was just sort of misconstrued information. But there were also a few people who left constructive comments on that video saying, we don't think that you're a terrible person, but this maybe isn't the best way to go about it. So honestly, that's the worst I've had. It's never been any worse than that. So I think I count myself very lucky, but I do know that as your subscriber numbers grow and as your video views grow, you're going to get more and more negative comments, and it's just all part and parcel of being on YouTube and being on the internet. But I'm really thick-skinned. If someone was being like straight down the line abusive towards me, I would just delete the comment, because I don't believe that comments like that, there's nothing good that can come out of them. If someone posts a comment that I don't agree with, that's different. I will leave that comment there, because everyone is entitled to their opinion. But if someone is going to be directly abusive to me on a personal level, I'll just delete the comment. Dragon Doodles 19 asked the question, how much money does a YouTuber make a week? And she did say that Google gives you really vague answers. I think this is a really important question to answer, especially from a smaller YouTuber, a tiny YouTuber, whatever. The reason that you can't get a straight answer from Google is because there are so many parameters that make up how you get paid by YouTube. It's nothing to do with the number of subscribers you've got for a start. It used to be, it's not. The only criteria you have for monetization is you have to reach 1,000 subscribers before you will start being monetized. And I think YouTube put that in place just before I started my channel. Well, no, that's not true, because I started building the channel in January, and YouTube brought that in sort of mid-February. So, but I wasn't anywhere. I hadn't even like made any of my videos public at that point. But the criteria now for monetization with YouTube is you have to have 1,000 subscribers, and I think you have to have, I think it's 240,000 view minutes. So that is collectively how long people's eyes have been on your videos. So your ad revenue from YouTube is made up of several different factors, and that figure fluctuates on a month-to-month basis. That's why you will not get accurate estimates. And you can, I mean, there's websites where you can actually go, and there's all this sort of algorithm that works out roughly how much this YouTuber's making, and the bandings are massive. Can I remember at one point when I first started, I looked up Draw with Jazza at the time, and I think he had I don't even think he had 1 million subscribers at the time, but the band of the supposed money he was earning a month was like, the banding was something like, oh, between $1,500 and $57,000, you know, so it is very vague. But it depends, number one, on whether people let your ads run or whether they skip ads. It depends how many ads are in the video, and it also depends if people actually click on those ads. Depending on what niche you're in, also is weighted differently, because if you look at video gaming YouTubers, for example, their channels have millions of subscribers, which kind of leads you on to the fact that they might get more view minutes on their videos and on their channel. Whereas for art YouTubers, I think the biggest art YouTuber's got like 7 million, and he's like the only one. The next down from that's like not quite 5 million, which again is Jazza. Now Jazza's got his own kids TV show in Australia. He's been on YouTube forever, and he's, you know, so he's like half of what the gaming guys are at, like the big gaming guys. So what you get paid is weighted depending on what niche you're in as well. So there's so many factors that affect it. As for wondering why YouTubers are so shy about it, I don't know where you're from or what your culture is, but where I'm from, it's really, really rude to ask someone how much they get paid. It's just not a thing we talk about. It's not a conversation we have. And I think if I was a full-time YouTuber, that was my job, I wouldn't be disclosing to you guys how much I'm earning, because quite frankly, it would be none of your business. I am quite a transparent person though, and I am happy to let you know what I'm spending money on for the channel. But if I was actually taking a wage from it, I wouldn't be disclosing that figure on a regular basis, and it's just because of the way I've been brought up. So I know that doesn't really answer your question, it doesn't help, but what I can tell you is that the threshold for a Google Ads payment is £60. So in the UK, if you don't earn £60 within 1 month with YouTube, you don't get paid, and it rolls over into the next month, and it just doubles up. So once you hit that £60, they will pay out at the end of that month. And only 3 or 4 months ago did I start hitting that threshold on a monthly basis. So that gives you an idea of how much money I'm earning just now on the YouTube channel, and the answer is not a lot. In addition to your actual ad revenue, the other thing that YouTubers do as well is they get sponsorship deals, and that, you might as well say, how long's a piece of string. Most YouTubers don't pull in money solely from just making YouTube videos, as in from the ad revenue. So I hope that kind of goes halfway to answering your question. It is really complicated, and every YouTuber is different, especially if you upload 5 times a week or twice a week. Most people sometimes just once a week. So all those things will impact how much you're actually getting paid. That's all I got. Okay, this one comes from Peachy Clean 425. Love your screen name. You like to learn. What would you like to learn next year after learning watercolour this year? This is a really good question. I have now dubbed 2019 the year of the watercolour, and next year I would like to focus on digital art. I bought myself a drawing tablet quite a while ago, and I've used it. I do use it, but I haven't drawn a lot with it. And it's something that I'd really like to get my teeth into. I'm not going to drop watercolour. I really enjoy watercolour, and it's kind of become part of my regular repertoire, if you like. So I will be keeping that up, but in terms of learning a new medium, it's going to be digital next year. Okay, Janet asked by email as well, how old are my dogs? Pip is now 1 year and 4 months old. Jock will be 8 in July, and Tilly will be 15 in April. So we've got a big spread. We're all ends of the spectrum. Crafty Caitlin asks, least favourite and favourite school subjects. Oh, that was a while ago. I have to think about that one as well. My least favourite subjects, I hated physics. I took 3 sciences at school. I hated physics. I thought it was incredibly dull. I really didn't like it. I enjoyed the other sciences very much. Obviously, my degree is basically an animal biology degree, except for agriculture. So I did very well at biology, but I enjoyed biology. I found it incredibly easy. I really enjoyed chemistry, and I actually had a lot of subjects that I really liked. I adored English, but that's because I like to write and I like to read. And I always remember my last year at school, I had a double period of English last thing on a Friday, and everyone else hated it, and I absolutely loved it. I couldn't think of anything better than spending a whole afternoon in English to finish off your week. I didn't enjoy maths, but I found comfort in it, because once you had the formula, then you knew the answer to stuff. So I quite like maths, but no, definitely hated physics. I also hated religious education, and it wasn't because of the subject matter, it was because of the teacher. We had a very bigoted, narrow-minded, very religious. I don't even know what religion he was, but he was very, although he was supposed to teach us about lots of different religions, he was very biased, and I didn't like him at all, and he ended up getting sacked because he was doing things with students he shouldn't be doing. So that tells you all you need to know. But yeah, he kind of ruined religious studies for me. I really enjoyed PE as well. Again, I like being outside, and our school had a massive playing field, and I loved our outside PE sessions. I loved doing all like the track running and athletics. Again, I like to run, so I was pretty good at the javelin when I was at school. I hated physics. Yeah, I just hated it. Thank you for your question though, Caitlin, that was a good one, I liked it. I've kind of already answered that one. A Touch of Sparkle had asked my favourite art supply to use. She has asked another question, so I'll answer that one. And this is a really good question as well, actually. Out of everything I've tested this year, what has been my favourite? That is so gosh darn easy. I am absolutely in love with the Molotov liquid chrome pen that came in, I think it came in a scroller box. I absolutely love that, and any excuse to use that pen, I use it. I am also in love with my watercolours from Julia K Art Studio. They are like my favourite thing ever, and again, any excuse to use them. That's pretty much it. There's been some other things that I've tried that I have really enjoyed, although I've maybe not done enough with them for them to be a favourite, but definitely sparkly things, like sparkly paints. That's been fun this year. In fact, just watercolour in general, that's been a big thing, considering I absolutely hated it when I tried it for the first time. At least I can laugh at that video now. I was so frustrated and so upset about it at the time, but I'm so glad I pushed myself to do it, and I wouldn't have done that if it hadn't been for you guys, so thank you very much. You make me brave, like all of you make me so brave. I'm like, yeah, I'm just gonna try this. And at least if I totally screw it up, everyone else will know not to do it. What's on your bucket list? Well, now that is an interesting question indeed. My bucket list. I made my bucket list after I recovered from my mental illness, and I told myself that nothing was ever going to stop me doing the things that I want to try and want to do, because there was a chance at one point that I might not even be here, and you have to take life, turn it round and make the best of it, because you only get one. So things that are on my bucket list, one of the things I want to do is I want to run a marathon. I've run a half marathon, that was also on my bucket list. So I wanted to run a half marathon before I turned 30, and I did it the day before my 30th birthday, which was close. But yeah, that was a great feeling. So I'd love to run a marathon, and I know I need to have more time to put into training, because the training does take up a lot of time. Yeah, I want to run a marathon. I want to go to Peru. That's somewhere I'd like to visit. I want to learn to be an archer. I have had a couple of goes at archery, and it's something I found it quite natural, and I picked it up quite easily, but I'd like to be like Katniss Everdeen type archer. So I'd love to be like a ninja archer. That's something that I would really like to learn to do. Honestly, there's so many things that I'm actually trying to like picture. I have actually got like a physical bucket list, and I'm trying to picture it in my head, and I can't think of anything else that's on it right now. Finish my novel. Although I've had writing pieces published, they've been short stories. I'm about a third of the way through my novel, which I haven't written anything for over a year. I don't want to get it published. I think the chances of it getting published would be really, really slim, but just like for my own personal achievement, I would love to to finish it, because then at least I could say I'd written a novel. The other thing I'd really like to do as well is get my doctorate. I have looked at PhDs in my, no pun intended, in my field, and there's actually quite a lot of research and development going on with what I would do specifically, so I think that's something for later though. I don't think I'm ready to do that now. The thought of having to go through another thesis still makes me like want to vomit slightly, so I'm obviously not over the last one. So I think we'll leave that for now. But yeah, that's something that I would consider maybe a bit later on in life, is going and doing a PhD. Then I could be Dr. Jem. Anyway, Charlotte has asked me 2 questions. She has asked, how long do you spend on YouTube stuff a week? I don't actually know the answer to that. I could take a pretty accurate guess. I will say, if you averaged it out over every day of the week, I probably spend the equivalent of 4 hours a day every day doing YouTube stuff, and that's for 2 videos a week plus the cave stash and the website. So that's not technically just YouTube, but it's something I bang on about it quite a lot, but people do not realise the amount of work that goes into not only setting up a YouTube channel and making videos, but all the sort of admin-y type stuff that goes with it, and the editing. The editing is a killer, an absolute killer. And nobody really understands that until they try and do it themselves. And somebody did email me at one point saying that they were just starting to make YouTube videos, and it took them like 8 hours to edit a video, and I'm like, yes, and it doesn't get any better because you've got to keep doing it. You do get quicker at editing videos, but it's a very slow and painful process because you have to go through every single bit of footage second by second and cut things out and change things and chop things. And sometimes you have to bin it because it's rubbish, or the camera's out of focus, or the sound's wrong. It's a really, really painstaking process. So yeah, I would go with a good 4 hours a day. Sometimes that can be like just sketching things out, like prep for a video. I'm not necessarily like filming or editing, but yeah, there's a lot to it. So there you go. I'm very lucky though that I'm self-employed and I can be quite flexible with my working hours to accommodate stuff like YouTube. The other question that Charlotte asked is, name a talent that you wish you had. I can't juggle. I would love to be able to juggle. It's not very useful for anything, but I'd like to juggle. I love this question as well. This question came from Dave, and this is verbatim. What the hell is with your watch? Is it the same one all the time? What is it with you guys in this watch? Right, I'm just going to take this off and show you. Right. Okay, this is my watch. It is a Garmin Forerunner 645 Music. It is a GPS running watch. It comes with interchangeable straps. So this is like my dress strap. I've got a black rubber strap that I wear when I'm outside on the farm or when I'm running, because it gets sweaty and stinky and you can wash it off. I don't want cow poop in between these links. This is the rose gold version. It normally comes in silver, but I managed to get a rose gold one because I liked it better. And you can also change the watch faces on them as well. I hope you can see that. I don't know if that's going to pick that up because it's focusing on my face. If I come in like this. There you go, you can actually see that there. So you can change the watch face, and I change mine regularly. My one for the new year is going to be a Super Mario Brothers one. It does pretty much everything. You can use, it's like the Garmin equivalent of Apple Pay, so it's got contactless payment on it. You can stream music through it, and that's kind of the point. So when I'm out running, I don't have to carry an iPod or even a phone, because my music comes straight from my watch, just like Bluetooth headphones. It tracks your step, it tracks your sleep, it's a heart rate monitor. You can set reminders on it. You can get your phone to ping notifications to it. So it's kind of like an Apple Watch, but more accurate for sport. And you can wear it in the swimming pool as well. So that is my watch. I don't even know how much they're retailing for now, but at the time I paid about 350 quid for mine. So they're not cheap either. Dave, I hope that answers your question, and anyone else who's been curious about my watch. Okay, the other question I had, this was another question from Peachy Clean 425, and they asked, would you ever quit your job for YouTube? I thought that was a great question. The answer to that is probably no. I worked really hard for my degree and I really enjoy my job, and it fulfills the logical and scientific side of my brain, and it challenges me intellectually on a daily basis, and I find that quite fulfilling. Sometimes my job's really boring, but that's the same with any job. Considering the climate that we are in with YouTube just now, between the new learning machine algorithms that are going to come in the new year because of the COPPA stuff, I would never want to put all my eggs in one basket and just do YouTube. If I was going to quit my day job for art, I would have some other like income stream from it. I wouldn't solely be a YouTuber, so yeah. Okay, keeping on the YouTuber theme, Patricia S had asked the best and worst parts of being a YouTuber. I think I've already covered that. The best part is when people tell you that the hard work that you've put in has helped them in some way, or it's inspired them or motivated them to try something or anything like that. That is absolutely hands down the best part of being a YouTuber, and it makes me feel good about myself as a person. It's not a completely selfish act. I mean, that's I'm honest about stuff like that. I enjoy that because it makes me feel good, but it's even more awesome that it makes someone else feel good as well. It's just, yeah, it's really, really good. The worst part about being a YouTuber is having to sit and edit videos, hands down. See, as soon as I'm making enough money to be able to afford someone else to edit videos for me, I'm so doing it. Like, I'm actually so doing it. But then I'm a bit of a control freak, so I don't know if that would work or not. It'd have to be someone that I really, really trusted. But I did actually research that. It's so expensive to get someone to edit YouTube videos. Like, it's a fortune. You're not doing that until you're a really, really big YouTuber, if you get to be a really big YouTuber. Favourite colour of Copic marker? There was someone else that asked about my Copic stand. That one hippie artist asked about the stand that's always in the background with my Copics in it, and what Copics do I have. I'm not going to show you my swatches because that's really, really boring. All of my Copic markers, bar 2, are Copic sketch markers. I've got about 280 altogether. I'll put a B-roll in here just now and you can see the stand. The stand is basically one of these little drawer tidy sets that you get in like in Hobbycraft, or what's the American equivalent of Hobbycraft? Hobby Lobby. You know, the little thin drawers. And all I did was I made sure I actually took a Copic sketch marker with me to Hobbycraft, and I wanted to make sure that the unit was deep enough for them to sit in, because I wanted them sitting side on so that I could see the colour names on the end. And basically I just took the drawers out and I still, the drawers stack, so I have the drawers separately, like just in a little bundle, and they have things in them. And I like that unit because you can actually pop all the different sections off, so you can make it half that height if you wanted, but also I can adapt it as I get more Copics. I can take more of the drawers out to give myself more space to put them in. Because the way I had them stored was driving me nuts, and I just didn't have enough space, and I wanted to be able to have room to expand them if I was going to buy some more. So I hope that answers that question for you. And my favourite colour of Copic, I've got quite a few. I like most of the greens, the pale greens. Again, I'll show you them. I'll show you them just now in a B-roll. Here they are. Okay, that question was from Wizzy Wee. Another question from Messenger was, what is my favourite video game? That's really difficult. Really, really difficult. I like different games for different things. One of my all-time favourite games is the Dizzy series, the Dizzy Egg series, and unless you are at least as old as me, you're not going to know what that is. They, Codemasters were a British development company back in the like 80s into 90s, and they created this like adventure platformer, and it was an egg with boxing gloves on. I actually drew Dizzy during Inktober not that long ago. I have the best childhood memories of that game, and there were so many of those games, and most of them were of a really high standard, and the difficulty level was just right, and computer games used to be a lot more difficult than they are now. So that's probably my favourite game of all time. More recently, I love the Resident Evil series. I'm really into zombie games, and I also like really in-depth games like Fallout, you know, like a bit of role-playing, that kind of thing. Yeah, I would say the Fallout series as well. That's probably a more modern favourite. But there's so many different games that I like for different reasons, and it depends what kind of mood I'm in as well. The other night I was just really fed up and I just wanted to bash some zombies without actually having to think about it, and I was playing Dead Rising. The last Dead Rising game set at Christmas time, it's in a mall at Christmas time, so there's like proper like Christmas music playing in the background and stuff. So there I just fancied a bit of festive zombie bashing, and it is like a button bashing game. There's no thought required, and sometimes you just need that kind of thing. So, okay, thank you for that question. That was also from Dave. And the last email question from Janet was, what age do collies stop working? It depends on the dog and how hard they have to work and how many sheep you've got. I would say on average though, most dogs will be retired between the age of maybe 8 and 10. You do get some that will go a bit longer than that if they've had quite an easy life, as it were. And you'll get some that will go less than that, and it's usually due to injury. We will be retiring Jock next year. He's starting to get really stiff on his shoulder, and we think it's from jumping down off the quad bike when it's moving, because there's every now and then, even if he's out playing with Pip in the field, if he's running really hard, he comes home and has a lie down, and when he goes to get up the next time, he's like limping really badly on it. But there's no damage there. We had him at the vet's the first time because we thought he'd done something to it, and the vet said no, I think it's muscular. And you can tell because he starts to walk it off, like after maybe 2 or 3 minutes of walking about, he's almost back to normal. So yeah, I would say between 8 and 10 is probably right. What happens to them after that is an entirely different matter, but Jock will be enjoying a life of leisure along with Willy Woo, who's obviously very much enjoying her retirement. She's about 3 feet that way on the floor, spread out, fast asleep, and she's snoring slightly. I don't think you guys can hear it though. If you can, I'll try and edit it out because it's really annoying. I just need to move this out the way. I keep forgetting about my wine as well. I keep forgetting I've got wine. Oh. Okay, another Instagram question. Yvonne asks, when you are doing art yourself, do you like to listen to music, have the TV on, or do you prefer silence? That's quite interesting because it depends what I'm doing. I have found that doing digital art, I like to have classical music on, and I'm particularly partial to Beethoven and Mozart. When if I'm just kind of sketching, if I'm not doing anything too serious or I'm not hard at work at something, I like to watch YouTube, and I like to have art YouTubers on because I find it's kind of inspirational and motivational. If I'm doing something that's a bit more of a slow burn, like if I'm colouring a complicated colouring page or one that's going to take a long time, or I'm working on a drawing that's got a lot of detail, I like to watch YouTube, but I don't like to watch art YouTubers, and I don't know why. I think that's really weird. One of my favourite channels to watch is Christopher Odd. He is a Canadian video gamer, and his channel's quite chilled out, even when he's playing like really fast-paced games. I just really like the way that he handles it, and I enjoy listening to him talk. He's got a very distinctive voice, and I kind of like live vicariously through him because there's games that he plays that I wouldn't want to play, but I can watch him playing them, so I still get to know what they're about. So that's kind of a strange one. I find his videos especially helpful if I'm doing stuff with a 3D pen. I could have him on in the background all day. So I've watched a lot of Let's Plays that have got like 85 parts to them. So yeah, if you like that kind of thing, go and check out Christopher Odd on YouTube. I'll leave his link in the description because he's one of my very favourites, and he's such a nice guy as well. He's Canadian, he's lovely. Okay, that's that. Next. Thank you, Yvonne. MJ Pete has asked another couple of questions. What makes you keep making videos? You guys. I'm amazed at the amount of responsibility I feel now to provide you with consistent and reasonably good quality videos, and in turn that motivates me on my art journey. So again, it's like mutually beneficial, and that's a really nice feeling. The other thing as well is I've got so many ideas. Like I've got more ideas than I would ever have time to execute in my entire life, even if I put out a video every day, which I would never do. And it's nice to have an outlet for those ideas, and when you get excited about something, it's nice to have someone to share it with, and I've got 3,000 of you to share it with, so yes, yeah. MJP also asked, will you ever work larger? That is dictated for the moment by the space that I have in the cave. I've mentioned before I'm reorganising the space because when I moved to this farm, that office was meant it was set up for me for work, and there was never any arting involved. That's one thing, see about being a writer, it takes up a lot less space. So it's time to reconfigure, and that's one of the things that I'm going to be addressing in the new year. So we shall see what comes after that, and we'll see what space I've got and take it from there. So watch this space, Pete. Sarah Nash asks, the artwork and colouring page that I'm most proud of. Artwork, that's really easy, and it was the video that I put out last year of my first pencil drawing of Mist. That I'm not necessarily proud of it because of the artistic talent in it. I think at the time it was very good for the standard I was at, because I'd only been drawing 10 months maybe when I started drawing that. So yeah, I suppose I'm proud of that, you know, for the stage that I was at, but I was proud of it because it was a massive mental and emotional hurdle for me to get over. And I think that that's one of the great things about art, because it really helps with things like that, and it can make you a really strong person without you even realising it. As for colouring page, there is a page early on in Enchanted Forest by Johanna Basford, and I shall pop it up here. I'm really proud of this. It doesn't look like much. This was the first page where I picked my colours myself. I didn't follow a tutorial. I didn't look on Pinterest for ideas. I picked those colours myself. And that was quite a proud moment for me, because I hadn't really been bitten by the colouring bug at that point. And it's only, that book I have coloured in sequence, so it's not that far into the front of the book, so I really hadn't been colouring long at all. But I still look at it now and I'm still really proud of it. So, and this is like nearly 4 years later. So yeah, there you go. Thank you for your question, Sarah. Rita asks, what process do I use for choosing colours? This is something that I get asked a lot, and I think I'm actually going to make a video on it, because there's quite a few colourists and artists that are used to working in pen and ink and not colouring their artwork in. When I'm choosing colours for a colouring page, there's usually a part of the picture that speaks to me. And if nothing speaks to me, I tend not to colour the page. Like, I'll go and do something else and maybe come back to it later. Even if it's just one tiny thing, like one tiny flower, and I think to myself, oh, that should really be pink. And then I work from there. Sometimes I will use one of these like colour palette generators, and people use them for interior design. You know, they get a colour scheme that goes together. So sometimes I look, you know, if I think that, like, say I wanted a flower to be fuchsia or magenta, I would go and look through magenta type colour schemes and see if there was anything that caught my eye, and then I would go back to the picture and look to see if those other colours would fit. Sometimes I just use my colour wheel, and again, I've done a video on how to use a colour wheel. If you're a newer colourist or an artist that isn't used to using colour, I'll link that in the end card, I think, if I remember. It's in the Colouring for Beginners playlist if you want to go and look for it. That's a really helpful way to help pick colours, I find. And there are times, and I've noticed it recently with one of the pictures in one of Kirby Rosanna's books, sometimes a picture is just too busy to choose a colour scheme. I find it easier to work to a limited palette of maybe say 3 or 4 colours. It depends how I'm feeling at the time. It depends on the complexity of the picture as well. With my artwork, it tends to go by mood, especially when I'm painting. Like, when I paint a picture, I pick the colours to help like portray a certain mood or an atmosphere. So if it's a depressing picture, I want lots of like really moody inky blues and, you know, like dark greys and that kind of thing. Or if I want something that's a bit more uplifting, I think like more like sunrisey type colours, so really rich pinks and yellows. So it does vary depending on what I want to do, but when it comes to picking colours for colouring pages, I definitely think it's time for a video on that. If that's something you would like to see, I sound like a broken record, drop me a comment underneath if that's something that you would like to see in the future. Rita also said, and someone else asked this as well, and I can't remember who it was because I didn't write it down, which wasn't very clever, if I'd ever do video, she would like to see bits of the farm, the animals and the scenery. I do show snippets every now and then. It is not, I will never do a farm tour video, it's not going to happen, and there's a few reasons for that. Number one, I am quite a private person, believe it or not, but I believe in protecting the privacy of my family, the staff that work here, and also the location, the rough location of where we are, because if I show you a video around the farm, anyone on the internet can see that, and it becomes really easy for people to come and steal things, and we have a lot of expensive machinery and expensive cattle. I will do a little video because we are going to have to go out and see Agnes before she has her calf. Agnes is like my pet cow. So I don't mind doing that every now and then. Some people have asked in the past, I did like a springtime video, and to be honest there just wasn't a lot of views on it, and it's not worth me going and filming things and sitting and editing it for the sake of like maybe 100 or 200 people that want to see it. I do slip things in every now and then, and I will continue to do that on an ongoing basis. I hope you can understand why I don't want to do a farm tour. It's like me walking up to a stranger in the street and saying, will you show me your house? And then after you've showed me every room in your house, will you take me to your work? So it's the same kind of thing, it's just a bit weird. So I hope that answers your question for you, Rita. And thank you very much for asking those questions. Another question from MG Pete. Pete, you're asking a lot of questions. Would you ever move out of Scotland? The answer to that is no. I will definitely not. I love to go and visit places. I have lived in England and I didn't really enjoy it. I wanted to come home. The only bad thing about being in Scotland is the weather, really, and I'm kind of built for it, so I'm very lucky. I consider myself very lucky, and I'm very grateful to live in such a beautiful country and not have problems with congestion and, you know, loads of other things that you get. Yes. No, I'm quite happy where I am. Plus, as well, all my family are here as well. So, well, most of my family are here. When I was younger, I did think about moving to Canada, because by now you've probably guessed I've got a thing for Canada. I wouldn't move to Canada now. I'm having too much fun here. And Pete's last question, why do I create art? I've kind of answered that already. There's so many benefits to it, and I'm glad that I found that out. I've always needed to have a creative outlet as a person ever since I was very small, and it's been in a variety of different ways: writing, music, singing, you know, all that kind of good stuff. And I just find it a really good way to relax. I find it a good way to connect with people that are like-minded, that don't particularly like other people. So yeah, there's lots of reasons now. There's lots of reasons. Julia asks, is there an animal, if I had the resource, you know, if the resources weren't a problem, which animal would I love to keep? I've been on at Mr. Jem for basically the entire time we've been together that I'd like some pigs, because I love pigs and I used to have pigs and I did my dissertation on pigs, and he keeps saying no, which is really annoying. So yeah, I would love to have some pigs. If we were talking about more exotic animals, I would have some orangutans, because they're incredibly clever and I like them a lot. I don't think I could keep orangutans in a shed though. I don't think they'd be very happy. I'll put them in the old cow shed and be fine. I think they're fascinating. And I like to draw orangutans too. I would have so many animals though, to be fair. I wouldn't want to look after them all and pay all their vet bills right enough, but there'd be lots of animals I'd like to keep. Oh, this is a good question as well. Yvonne asked, if time stood still for 24 hours, what would I do? Dang nammit, that is a good question. I would go and visit everyone that I haven't seen for a long time, and I would do something for them that would change their day for the better. So, I don't know, say my cousin was taking time off work to go and get his car fixed. I would go fix the car for him and put it back so that he didn't have to do it, and he would just find out and it'd be a surprise. Either that, or on a slightly more selfish note, I would sit and film like 5 or 6 YouTube videos and edit them all and have them banked so that I could take a few days off and not have to do any video editing. Alternatively, I could just go and get drunk. That sounds like a much better idea. So many options. No, I'm going with my first answer. I'm sticking with my first answer. I am assuming, there is someone that's asked me a question there. I'm assuming your name is pronounced Jackson and it's just a very exotic spelling. If that's not right, please tell me. Have I ever made any art with black ink and a dip pen? Now, Jackson is quite new to the channel. Hello. Yes, I have. I did it for Inktober. I didn't show it, though. I didn't film it. So I haven't actually done a video on it. People have been asking me to do dip pen videos, and to be honest, after Inktober I was just a little bit inked out, but again, that's something I might like to revisit maybe next year sometime, and do a video with some dip pens. So again, if that's something that you would like, you just have to kind of hang on for a little while. We'll get there, we'll get there. Okay, that is every question. That's a lot of questions. I think we did quite well. Do you like my wine glass? It magically fills itself back up. So I hope you have enjoyed finding out a little bit about me, and I've answered all the questions regarding my watch. I want to thank you all very much for joining me today. I'm going to go and put my party dress on now, and I'm going to go and enjoy myself this evening. I hope that you are having a lovely festive period and that you're all well rested and well fed. And I will see you back in the cave tomorrow for day 6 of Cavemas. Have a great day, everyone.